check my chat. Make sure everybody in the motherfucking hot. Look like we on, babe. Yeah. Make sure everybody in the motherfucking. Alright, we on. See some motherfuckers start popping up in my chat. You know we moving the groove. I wait on it. I know y'all gonna be there. That's right. That's right. I'm gonna just sit back and chill. Tie my shit up. I let y'all come on in, y'all. Let y'all come on in. In the meantime, woo! Don't look too long. You know, I don't want y'all motherfuckers to become dizzy and fucking fall out there, bust your motherfucking head on something, nigga. Yeah, baby. We doing it big tonight, baby. I want all my family to come in. Y'all know how we do. Come on in, children. Come to the light. Come to the light. Come your ass on in. You been sitting out there in dark. See, a king drink out of this. This my little cup. You see what I'm saying? See how I grabbed that motherfucker? I grabbed that motherfucker like one of them little baby McDonald's cups. Where you at? Come on in. What we looking like? Wait a minute, hold up. Wait a minute. Hey, you can't be a gorilla unless you beat on your chest. Okay? Okay? I want motherfucking apologize for that. You can't be a motherfucking gorilla unless you beat on your chest. So tonight, I beats my motherfucking chest. Alright, boom.
Peace and good evening, family. Peace and good evening, family. What's going on with y'all this Saturday evening? How's everybody doing? I hope everybody is having a great weekend. I hope you get some rest. I hope you're clearing your mind. And thank you for giving me some of your time. Family, I need you guys to do me a favor. Share the video. Let everybody know I'm live. Because I may be opening up the chat, so we can spark some great debate. Get some topics open out today. Talk about some things that I've been hearing on YouTube, where these Negroes have lost their minds. These Negroes have lost their minds out here today. Everybody arguing over Kamala Harris's ethnicity. Negroes still running around talking about was Egyptians black. Meanwhile, the port strike just ended and it can pop and start right back up anytime soon. We got the presidential election maybe a month away. We got niggas on YouTube, like I said, just acting a fool, family. So we're going to discuss this today, man. But before I get started, I want to give everybody a shout out tuning in as the room continues to grow, as people continue to come up in the room. I want to say once again, we are the American Africans against anti-Africanism. When I hear people banging on things that are intrinsically black, I gotta fight back. And that's what it is. Family, do me a favor, hit that like button, support the channel. There's 2 ways you can support the channel. As a matter of fact, there are 3 ways that you can support this channel. 1 is by making a donation to my Cash App, which is, I'll put right here in the chat. You can make a donation to my Cash App. 2, you can press the like button. And 3, you can share the video to your Facebook page and let everybody know that intelligent conversations do exist. Right here on MVP TV, the home of morning coffee, where we are the American Africans against anti-Africanists. Once again, that is the A5 movement, and we are Pan-Africans over here on this channel, and we are unapologetically African, as you know how the saying goes. So with that being said, I want to get a shout out to everybody tuning in. We got Derek Franks in the building, Stephen Wilkes in the building, We got myself in the building because the show wouldn't be going, right? I want to give a shout out to Moto Gear. Saran Lata is in the building. Silent K is in the building. Infinite God is in the building. And many more people will be coming up in here as we get this show started. So let's think about this, family. I want y'all to ask yourself a question. What is blackness? What is blackness as it pertains to Africans in the diaspora? Is blackness something that we just talk about just to have an argument? Because I was reading a report, a Princeton article, right? Let me bring the music down a little bit so I can build with y'all, right? Because I'm gonna open this channel up today. Matter of fact, let me put the link in there. Let me put the link in there now because I know people are gonna want to come in probably a little bit earlier. Let me put the link in now, and boom. There it is. I want to talk about what blackness is briefly here. Now, I was reading the article on this website here. Let me present this. Share screen. Boom. Bang. And I want to share this with you all. And it's in dialogue. What is misunderstood about blackness, right? Now, we know blackness is pertaining to our culture and who we are over here in the United States and abroad. What is blackness as it pertains to Africans? What is blackness as it pertains to us over here in America? How do we relate to one another? Right? We got to first get this cleared up. And I want to read a little bit of this article here. And it says, for decades, blackness has been a crucial political and cultural category that grounds a public discourse on cherishing a robust historical tradition and systemically uprooting white supremacy. As the term popularizes as a catch-all, however, so proliferate assumptions, narratives, and stereotypes that obscure the diversity of Black lived experiences. This month, we asked a few of our authors the following question: what do you find is commonly misunderstood about Blackness in America? Right. So what we want to do here is we want to read what Corey Garibaldi said, right? And this is in Permanent Blackness, the making and unmaking of interracial literacy culture in modern America. So I want to read this to you guys real quick. Because in honor of Black History Month, this was written in February of 2023, and they asked some Black editors or Black commentators, what is blackness? Because this is very important as we have this dialogue today, because I think that's the conversation that needs to be had. What is blackness as it pertains to us over here in the United States? What is blackness? Right? What constitutes blackness? What do we accept as blackness versus what don't we accept as blackness, right? So let me see. Stephen Wills, he says, you open it up, that would be my bucket list. I don't know what you mean by that, but hey, no problem. Sister Shirley Laurier, she says, Black power is giving power to people who have not had power to determine their destiny. Dr. Huey P. Newton, that's a great answer right there. But what is blackness to you? I don't want to know what it is to Huey P. Newton. I want to know what is blackness to you, Sister Laurier. You understand what I'm saying? That's very important. We don't always have to follow other people to constitute blackness in America, because culture has shifted, culture has changed, philosophy has changed. The political stratification in 2023 is a lot different than it was from 1960. So I'm asking the audience today, what is blackness? We're going to get into it today, because once we determine or we explain what blackness is, there's no need to argue about whether or not Kamala Harris is black or white. I hope you guys understand that. Now, this is what Corey Garibaldi says, which is a funny name. He says, this is an exciting time to be reading and researching Black history and culture. Afro-diasporic authors that I study, including Alexander Dumas Pierre and Alexander Pushkin, monitor the arduous struggle for freedom in the antebellum U.S. and the global dimensions of blackness. Indeed, both mixed-race writers were fans of one another, and Dumas Pierre wrote about Pushkin's African great-grandfather, Abram Petrovich Ganabal. Several decades later, in 1936, Black scholar and diplomat Mercer Cook translated Dumas' biographical writing on Pushkin for the Afro-American, a piece of literacy history that is little remembered in our own time. My research shed new light on the sheer scale and the impermanence of cultural interracialism, which has deep transitional resonances in the 21st century. Now, in 1891, Pushkin's granddaughter, Countess Sophie of Merenberg, married Russia's Grand Duke Michael, the cousin of the Tsar at that time. That year, scores of American newspapers reported disparagingly that there was now Negro blood in the royal court. Other papers, such as Norfolk's Virginian and the Carolinian, described Merenberg as Grand Duke Michael's Negro wife, despite how white her immediate ancestry was. Interesting, right? Interesting. After the Grand Duke's mother discovered that her son had married Pushkin's granddaughter, she suffered a heart attack, passing away soon thereafter. Grand Duke Michael was blamed for his mother's death, and the Tsar banished the newlyweds from Russia for life. They settled abroad permanently even after the Tsar's banishment was lifted. Several years later, Grand Duke Michael penned a novel, Never Say Die, in 1908, based on the story of his courtship and marriage to Pushkin's granddaughter. This semi-fictional tale, which he dedicated to his wife, followed the exploits of a clever but very lazy prince who was nevertheless trained to become a quote-unquote exceptionally good soldier. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Derry Howard. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Excuse me, trained to become an exceptionally good soldier, end quote. Fittingly, this young prince finds himself smitten with the general's daughter, who is neither royal nor aristocratic. Moreover, the Grand Duke Michael's protagonist styled himself after himself. Let me repeat this. Styled after himself leads a quote-unquote studious life of a man fond of his military profession, end quote, who disavows the quote gaieties of his father's court. I want to keep reading this so you guys can get where I'm going. The visibility of race is a myth, and yet it remains common for Americans to ignore, overlook, or forget that Black identity and African ancestry comes in all shades. I want you guys to understand, just because she has something which you may not constitute as immediate Blackness does not mean that she cannot be Black. We're going to get into this today. This is important for this intelligent conversation. We're not getting into these silly, stupid arguments anymore. After this, no more stupid arguments about her daddy is white, her mama is white, Candace Owens, which is foolishness. I want to repeat this air quote here. The visibility of race is a myth. And yet it remains common for Americans to ignore, overlook, or forget that Black identity and African ancestry comes in all shades. What is Blackness to you? What is Blackness to me? I'm going to say hip-hop culture. I'm going to say walking to the store with my crew, going to the mall with my crew, Black History Month, Malcolm X. That's Blackness. The way we dress, the way I wear Jordans, the way I wear my Air Force Ones, the way I put my clothes on, the way I write my name, the way I speak, the way I carry myself in public versus the way I carry myself at home. These are all examples of Blackness, Black intelligentsia. What is Blackness? Now, if I ask Candace Owens, what is Blackness, she gonna give us some weird ass commentary, and her commentary gonna be all over the place. Let me continue on. We got somebody that just came in the building. Hey, Stefan, turn your camera off. Don't nobody want to look at your ugly ass while you come up on my panel. Thank you, brother. So, what is Blackness? We got Stefan in the building. Go ahead, brother.
Hey man, my name is David Stephon.
Sorry about that, Stefan. Go ahead.
Nah, bro. It's all good. But hey man, I just want to give you your flowers, and you bring that realness, man. Like, I mean, watching you sit that other channel, and you destroyed everybody. I'm talking about
Thank
like, with somebody like destroying Shaka Utmost, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? And like,
you.
hey, bro, I thank you for everything that you do, bro. And keep on pushing, and never mind the haters. Hey, keep on bringing that real information, my nigga. Because
Okay,
you
no
really, my
doubt.
bad for saying that, but you are the truth.
No doubt, man. Thank you. I
You
appreciate
are
you.
the truth, man, because you touch every basis of every damn thing, man. And my wife will tell you, hey, man, she's like, man, with Chris Harris coming on live, oh, I got to be in the building when I'm off the work. And like I tell her, like, what you see my name, what you see my name, and you always say Stephanie Wilson, but it's actually Steph Wilson. But hey, people, I crossed this out of my bucket list. I got a chance to get on Chris Harris MVP panel. And hey, man, keep pushing that goddamn real shit, bro, because you the truth, man. You the best, man. And I dare anybody to the face. You gonna kill it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you, Stephon. No doubt. Hit that like button.
Huh?
Hit that like button on your way out, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you, man, for being an inspiration to everybody, man. And the shit, I will continue to support you, brother. For real.
Okay. No doubt. No doubt, man. All right. Peace.
All right.
All right. So we want to get back on it. So it says, in real life, the Russian Grand Duke's contemporaries had long fixated on his material martial dynamic with Marienburg, who was labeled a commoner despite her noble ancestry. Quote, as is always the case in love affairs, end quote. Grand Duke Michael noted noted in his highly lightly veiled account of their marriage, quote, society was exceedingly interested and a great deal of gossip ensued. Paradoxically, in the Grand Duke's fictionalized memoir, the young prince father assured his son that he would, quote, end quote, dearly love his newest muse for his daughter-in-law, even in spite of the fact that the marriage would not receive recognition in the court. All of this because she had some black ancestry. Now, such vignettes are poignant. I hope I'm saying that word correctly. But it is not surprising that the Grand Duke Michael's melodramatic novel has been forgotten. At the time, some critics questioned how appropriate this book was, given the highly publicized controversy surrounding his unsanctioned marriage to Gannibal's great-great-great-granddaughter. Now, for decades, Countess Sophie of Marienburg and her heirs were subject to racially motivated attacks. What is striking is that the African American writers and publications, including the NAACP's Crisis Magazine, James Weldon Johnson, and numerous others, were consistent in defending Pushkin's aristocratic descendants from, quote, end quote, scientific racism. The erasure of this cultural history from our collective memory is emblematic of broader misunderstandings about blackness. The visibility of race is a myth, and yet it remains common for Americans to ignore, overlook, or forget that black identity and African identity comes in all shades. Too often, people are taught that European heritage is synonymous with whiteness. We need more narratives of the past that defy tenacious stereotypes and pernicious biases like these that haunt the present. Why did I bring this article up? Because here it is. You have a somewhat of a royal family marrying into a commoner. And the first thing everybody began to do was attack this woman's blackness. This is why I read this. This is nothing. This is nothing new. This is something that we have always done, or something that society has always done, especially when they don't meet the quote, end quote, status quo. That's why I have not heard on these channels or anybody speak about what is blackness. Because if we understand what blackness is, we would understand who Kamala Harris is. Now, I'm going to play a little video, and we're going to get to the bottom of who she is, what she's representing, and what she's doing. Shout out to C Dot in the building. Shout out to Silent K once again in the building. Guys, share the video, hit the like button. Let's switch it up a little bit, because if I was talking shit or binging on Jesus, I would have 100 people up in the room already. You know what I'm saying? But we're doing something different today. All right. So I want to play this video for you all so we can see what Kamala Harris is. Let's play it.
Matt Baker. First off, I want to say I did not want to make this video, at least not yet. You see, I already made a family tree video about Kamala Harris 4 years ago, and although it could definitely use an update, I wanted to wait until after the election results to perhaps redo it. However, recently there's been a string of videos put out by Candace Owens that have been getting millions of views. In them, she insinuates a bunch of things about Kamala Harris's family tree.
Okay, you guys, testing 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear? Okay, good.
That, quite frankly, are not true. But people are believing Owens and starting to repeat her claims as if they are fact. So, since Useful Charts is one of the main channels here on YouTube that talks about family trees, I felt that it was sort of my responsibility to weigh in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go through Kamala Harris's full tree right now. I'll still do that later this year if she wins. But for now, I want to focus on her father's side of the tree and answer the question, is Kamala Harris black?
I always cut straight to the chase, don't I, family? I always cut straight to the chase. Let's keep it moving.
The renewed interest in Harris's tree started with a statement made by Janet Jackson during a recent interview. When asked about Kamala Harris, Jackson said, and I quote, "She's not black. That's what I heard. Her father's white. I was told that they discovered her father was white."
Let's pause right there for a moment. Now, I love Janet Jackson. Control was a dope album. Rhythm Nation grew up on that album. Banging album. But y'all, the Jacksons are the last group of people to be running around hollering about who's white and who's black when they don't even love their own blackness. This is why they all got nose jobs, right? We got to be honest with this. So now we're going to ride with what Janet Jackson said. She's not black. You don't even love your blackness. You change your nose. You've lightened your complexion over time. And you're up here arguing about what blackness is or who's black and who's not black. You, Randy, Jermaine, all of them.
Now, first off, it's obvious that Janet Jackson has never seen a photo of Donald Harris, Kamala Harris's father, because there's no...
That's a white guy. That's a white guy. That's a white guy, guys. Look, that's a white man. Big nose, receding hairline, in his probably what, late 40s. That's a white guy. Come on, let's keep it going.
No way that anyone would call this man straight up white. Here's some more photos of him at various points in his life. I mean, you could perhaps claim that he looks mixed race or maybe part white, but I don't think anyone in their right mind would say that the person you're looking at on screen right now is a white man. So rightly so, the media jumped all over Jackson's comments. But for some reason, Candace Owens decided to defend Jackson by doing a deep dive into Donald Harris's genealogy. So let's take a look. First off, like I say, it's quite obvious that Kamala's father is a black man. Maybe not 100% black, but definitely black enough that that's how he's going to be perceived as he goes through life. Remember, race is just a social construct. What's actually more important is racialization, meaning how society perceives you and treats you based on how you look. So, for example, Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, and Bob Marley all had white fathers, but all three of them were considered black.
And they are honored as black men who have helped us make huge strides in this society. They have white fathers. Isn't that amazing? How you'll listen to people on YouTube compromise themselves just to join in on an argument. Frederick Douglass, I dare you. Booker T. Washington, I dare you. Bob Marley, I dare you. They all had their unique blend of blackness. Now you guys are seeing the ins and outs of this argument and things that are not being argued. What is the frame of reference? Janet Jackson? Candace Owens? Are we serious? Candace Owens? I'm going to deal with her ass in a minute.
Never white. Okay, let me introduce you to Donald Harris's parents. According to Donald himself, his father was Oscar Joseph Harris, and his mother was Beryl Christie Finnegan. However, in his article, Reflections of a Jamaican Father, Donald states that the two most influential women in his life were his two grandmothers, Christiana Brown and Iris Finnegan. Now, it's unclear whether or not he was actually raised by these two grandmothers, but that certainly seems like a possibility because, as Candace Owen points out, there is no record of a marriage between Oscar and Beryl. However, there is a record of a marriage between Oscar and a white woman named Vioris Cambridge when Donald was 14, as well as a marriage between Beryl and a man named Lawford Newland when Donald was 6. So either Oscar and Beryl divorced very early on in Donald's life, or they were simply never married at all. Now, the first mistake that Candace Owens makes is that she claims that Beryl died in 1960, based on this death registration here. If true, she says, that would mean that Kamala Harris is lying about this photo, which shows her with her grandmother Beryl in 1990. But here's the thing. Harris's grandmother didn't die in 1960. She died in 1995. This is the correct death registration. We know that this one is the correct one for several reasons. First and foremost is the fact that the Beryl on this registration is named Beryl Finnegan, which was the grandmother's last name, whereas the Beryl on this one is named Beryl Christie. Now, the reason why Candace got confused is because Harris's grandmother Beryl had Christie as a middle name, but the form asks for the full name. I think it's very unlikely that they would put the first and middle name rather than the first and last name. Also, this Beryl died in 1960 at the age of 39, meaning that she was born in 1921, whereas this Beryl died in 1995 at the age of 81, meaning that she was born in 1914. That's a pretty big difference that can be settled very easily by looking at Grandma Beryl's birth certificate. Even Candace Owen admits that this is the correct birth certificate for Grandma Beryl. At first glance, it seems to indicate that the birth was in 1917, but that 7 could also be a 4, which would make it 1914, fitting perfectly with what we'd expect based on the correct death certificate. But there's more. Candace makes a big deal over this name here, Douglas Finnegan, the person who reported the death. She says, we don't know of any Douglas Finnegan in the family. Well, that may be, but her last name was in fact Finnegan. So it's not hard to imagine that there was some nephew or cousin out there named Douglas Finnegan who was in charge of reporting the death. In contrast, this one lists Muriel Murray. We don't know of any family members with the last name Murray. So that one makes even less sense. Finally, there's the fact that this Beryl died in St. Anne Parish, which is where Grandma Beryl was known to have lived her entire life, whereas this one has her being born in St. Anne but dying in Kingston. Now, the second mistake that Candace Owen makes is that she claims, or at least strongly insinuates, that Donald Harris's real mother is actually Vioris Cambridge, and that the woman in this photo is just the help that Kamala was passing off as her grandmother photo is just the help that
Y'all see what I'm talking about when it come to Candace Owens? There's no way in the world you should be referencing Candace Owens, the same woman that said George Floyd deserved what he got, the same woman that defended the man who killed Trayvon Martin, the same woman that always defends the police when black men are killed unjustifiably. This is the same woman that condemned the Black Lives Matter movement. This is the same woman that does not support issues as it pertains to our civil rights in America. She's always going against. Why would you use her as a frame of reference? She is wrong. She's irrelevant. We don't need her. You don't need Candace Owens. Candace Owens said herself in the video she's not sure. But she's going to sit up there and kick a lot of propaganda against Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris is running on the Democratic ticket. That's what she's doing. So she has her own agenda. And for her to sit up there and say Kamala Harris is lying about who she is and this black woman is nothing but the help shows you who she really is deep down. This is a self-hating black bed wench, and I said it. I have no respect for Candace Owens. None. There's no need to have any respect for her. Fuck Candace Owens. Why are we repeating Candace Owens information? Candace Owens is incorrect. How many times have you guys heard me debate? Can I get a source for that? And I say, that's commentary, sir. You hear me say it all the time. And here it is. You know what? When I'm looking at Kamala Harris right there, you know who I see? My cousin Tangi. She got the bamboo earrings, the loose 2 pair. She got them right there in her ears. She got them right there in her ears. See, we need to start talking about what is blackness. We're going to get into more a little bit after this video. Let's keep going.
Kamala was passing off as her grandmother in order to seem more black. This is where things start to get really ridiculous because Vioris was born in 1927 and Donald in 1938. So are we to believe that Vioris had Donald when she was only 11? Oh, wait, I get it. She wants to see Donald Harris's birth certificate because obviously he's lying. Gee, that sounds familiar. What I think is really going on is that Candace Owens is just throwing out a bunch of crazy stuff because she knows that people who want a reason to hate Kamala Harris will believe it. But that's just plain irresponsible, to put it lightly. Look, I take family trees seriously, so let me show you what I've learned and what I think the best explanation is for all the facts.
In other words, you can't have it both ways. You can't have one side where Vioris Cambridge is born in 1927, but Beryl Finnegan is born in 1914. It don't line up. Candace Owens' lie just got melted like that in less than 7 minutes. But everybody will hit that live button, won't they? They'll hit that live button and begin to talk about Candace Owens ain't black. Look at what, Candace, you're right, Candace Owens ain't black. Kamala Harris ain't black. Look at what Candace Owens said. Same Negroes running around talking about some Egyptians ain't black. I have trouble understanding these guys' rationale. And we got to begin to sit up there and start asking these guys, what is it that you don't like about Kamala Harris, really? Why are we making this an issue about her blackness?
Let's start with Joseph Alexander Harris, Oscar Harris's father. He's the
Oh, shit, I just noticed. They got my name right there, Chris Harris. Oh, shit.
most recent fully white person on Kamala Harris's family tree. So out of her 8 great-grandparents in total, only one of them was white. That's actually about average for black people from the Americas. Then there's Oscar Harris's mother, Christiana Brown. She's the one that Donald Harris said was a descendant of Hamilton Brown, the Irish slave owner. But she's obviously mixed race, so what this means is that a white slaver probably impregnated an enslaved black woman at some point. Or at best, it means that a descendant of a white slaver.
Rockwell, first of all, there's no such ethnicity as Hindi. That's not an ethnicity. Don't be so silly.
Married a descendant of an enslaved black woman. Either way, Christiana Brown had ancestors on both sides of the equation, and therefore it's extremely misleading to call her offspring the descendants of a slave-owning family without telling the full story. According to Donald Harris, Christiana Brown ran a dry goods store in a small town, so it's not like she was super wealthy or anything. I'm also not sure whether or not Christiana Brown was ever married to Joseph Harris. I'm still looking into it, but it appears that Joseph Harris had a white wife named Caroline Beckford, which means that Oscar was either the result of an affair or perhaps even something worse. What we do know is that Oscar's birth certificate lists him simply as Oscar Brown, with no mention of his father. So it definitely sounds like Christiana Brown was a single mother. Interestingly, Oscar didn't change his name to Oscar Joseph Harris until a few years prior to marrying Vioris, which seems to indicate that he was perhaps trying to distance himself from his black roots. If Joseph Harris was fully white and Christiana Brown was half black, half white, that would mean that Oscar Harris was 75% white. So he may have been able to pass. It does seem that Oscar and Vioris did have children together, children that would be the half-siblings of Donald Harris. For example, Candace Owens found this son, who is listed on Oscar Harris's death certificate as the one who reported the death. This means that if Oscar and Viola did have a bunch of white passing children, then Donald Harris might have been the black half-brother that no one really talked about. Now, I'm not saying this for certain. Donald has decided to keep these details private, and I respect that. I'm just saying that there's more than one way to do the guesswork. Now, while Oscar Harris seems to have been only around 25% black, it would appear that Beryl Finnegan was around 75% black. This is because her father, Patrick Finnegan Jr., was mixed race, and her mother, Iris Finnegan, maiden name Allen, was fully black. There's a record from around 1900 of a priest from St. Anne's Parish saying that there was a mixed-race couple in the area, and that the husband's name was Patrick Finnegan Sr., originally from Ireland. He was almost certainly referring to this couple here, the parents of Patrick Finnegan Jr. So what does all this mean? Well, it means that if Oscar Harris was 1/4 black and Beryl Finnegan was 3/4 black, that would make Donald Harris, DNA-wise, 4/8 black. Or to put it more simply, half white, half black. So that puts him in the same category as Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, and Bob Marley, as well as Drake, Lenny Kravitz, etc. So in other words, Donald Harris is black. And considering that he married an Indian woman, as in from India, that means that Kamala Harris is part black and part Indian, which is what she's always said. Sure, technically, we could say that approximately 25% of her ancestry is European, 25% is sub-Saharan African, and 50% is South Asian. But when it comes down to it, that's not what matters. Like I said earlier, race doesn't really exist, but racialization definitely does. And the fact of the matter is that Kamala Harris has been racialized as either black or brown or both her entire life, never white. So there's your answer. Yes, Kamala Harris is black, and she's also Indian. You can be both. I'll continue to look into her tree, and if she wins in November, expect a video on her full family tree sometime before the end of the year. Thanks for watching.
So now, you Negroes can no longer sit back and argue about who her dad is and who her dad isn't. It's you same Negroes who run around talking about you are what your father is. And then when you see that her daddy is clearly black, y'all want to run around and say, oh, no, he's not. I always say, you religious identity thieves, y'all are always the ones, the loudest people in the room. Are you saying Frederick Douglass isn't black? Booker T. Washington, Lenny Kravitz? Fuck Drake. I'm not even putting Drake in the equation. Last time I checked, when we were captured, conquered, and brought over here and raped, our women were raped. You got all different types of people in your lineage now, especially as it pertains to black people over here in America. Are you saying that we aren't black? People say, oh, when we came over here, we weren't calling ourselves black, but we certainly have adopted it, haven't we? We've certainly changed the meaning of that since we've been here, right? What's wrong with identifying as black? Right? What is wrong with identifying as black? I'm still trying to figure that out. What is wrong with identifying as black? What is wrong when Kamala Harris identifies as black? Culturally, she certainly has always presented herself amongst black people. She's even part of a black sorority called the AKAs, which are going to play a prominent role. These black women are going to play a prominent role in her election. So she certainly identified with blackness. See, what if she would have been identifying with whiteness? Same Negroes would have been like, oh, this a coon, this a coon, this a coon. She won't identify as one of us. See, y'all would have argued just for the sake of arguing. That she's a member of the AKAs. I'm pretty sure she was listening to EPMD, NWA, LL Cool J, Tribe Called Quest, Queen Latifah. Candace Owens got all her facts wrong. And you know what? There's an argument out there. They said, well, she married a white guy. I just be all like, you right, she did. My cousin married a white woman. That don't mean he not black. His children are mixed. Love him dearly. But guess what? That don't mean he not black. Right? Let's look at Candace Owens for a moment. Right? So, but now you guys see Kamala Harris is part of the AKAs. I'm pretty sure she didn't join them just because all of a sudden she's going to run for president. I'm pretty sure that's not why she did that. She's always identified with us. She's always identified her blackness. She's always identified with it. Who run around talking about some who's mixed, talking about some I'm Indian? No, she's identified as black, and everybody has sit up there and identified her as black, and she got the presidential nomination. Then niggas begin to talk. The frame of reference comes actually from Kanye West when he was drunk on Drink Champs. That's the frame of reference. And niggas stole that argument and started putting it on YouTube and started creating arguments with that nonsense. Remember, the minute one of our own ascend up into higher places, we start arguing about their blackness. I'm sorry, but T.I., I'm sorry, but the Dungeon Family, Method Man, they'll never be political leaders. There's a certain amount of articulation that comes with that position and intelligence that come with that position, these positions. A certain amount of education that comes along with that. You're not going to see T.I. up in there running for political office so y'all can hoop and holler and say, yeah, we got our nigga up in there. That's not going to happen. That's not how politics work. The minute you guys see somebody articulate, you begin to question their blackness. Don't believe me? I'm a living example of that shit. Y'all see, sometimes when dark skin, we still got this dark skin, light skin complex that need to be thrown the fuck away. Light skin and dark skin people have always existed together in Africa before the European colonizer came over there. We make all different shades of black. What we call black over here in the United States. Africans have always been able to produce every phenotype in the spectrum. That's what makes you special. That's what constitutes blackness. Not arguing and saying she ain't black. What's wrong? We can't talk about it now? See, it's easier to stand on the negative side than it is on the positive side of this argument. See, I'm on the positive side of the argument. If she wants to identify as black, go right ahead, sister. Be my guest. Because see, Bill Clinton tried to identify as black. Oh yeah, he was on Arsenio Hall blowing the saxophone on a late night show, trying to promote himself amongst black people, pandering to blackness. He was doing it. George Bush does it, getting black preachers to go up into black churches and tell everybody to vote for him. All of them do it. Don't try and make it look like Kamala Harris is the first to ever do it. That goes to show that when the slave master beat on us, and he beat that shit right into us. Tear your brother and tear your sister down. Oh, they put black men in down. She's a prosecutor. But they do that. She's a state prosecutor. She wasn't a prosecuting attorney in a lot of those cases. She was the state prosecutor. She's the one that determines if it goes to trial or not. All these arguments with no frame of reference. Anything to tear him down. Willie Lynch. So D, with this same thing that you're saying, what is the black community? What is the black community? What goes for the black community versus what goes against the black community? What did she do that went against the black community? What is a black community? Are you saying that the inner city is a black community? Poor, dilapidated communities in America are black communities? What is a black community? Let me get a frame and reference in your definition of that so we can understand these arguments that are being perpetuated on YouTube. Because if she's living in the suburbs, is she still part of the black community? What is the black community? What does this mean? And these are the types of things that are said. They're very nebulant. They're very neutral. Well, what she did with against the black community? Is there a black community that exists within a suburb? Was she going against that community? Also, that sector of the black community? What is going against the black community? What about the fact that she's up for a degree? She's got her degree. What about the fact that she is educated? Was that for the black community? You guys never reference that part though, do you? Just a bunch of dumbass YouTube arguments. Sorry, no disrespect, D. But if we're going to talk about it, let's really sit down and talk about it. D says, I mean, there is definitely no address, because we want to deal with Candace Owens now. There's no address to the black community in Black America that we all do know. Once again, that's a very neutral thing to say. I don't know what that means. That's not deep enough for me. Pause. No Diddy. Thank you, King Paul. I've been saying this for the longest. There it is. They accepted 44 white presidents and one orange one and never cried about their color. The minute we get in there, the minute we're being presented, the minute we make it to this stage, we tearing down somebody. We trying to find something to talk about, right? That's what you're doing. What is for the black community? What is for the like you guys are saying she was against the black community? What does that mean? Break that down for me. Look. Let's go here to Candace Owens. Right? We want to look at Candace Owens here because we look at Kamala Harris and we argue about she's married to a white man, therefore that's enough to constitute that she's not part of the black community. We use Candace Owens' poorly researched work and information and try to make that as our frame of reference. I've been throwing that around a lot today on this show today, right? We're constantly doing that, right? Let's look at Candace Owens. There's her husband. Here's another picture of them when they were getting married right here. Here's her child. Here's her child. Let's take a look. Look at her. She cheesing, chinning, and grinning with Donald Trump. Chinning and grinning. See, she has an agenda. Her agenda is not blackness. Her agenda is whiteness. It's right there. There's her child. Is he black? No, that baby is white. What are y'all doing? Excuse me, let me show it. I'm not even showing it. There it is. Here she is. Now, honestly, I could care less. Being honest with y'all, I could care less. She looked just like one of them Kenyan sisters. She got a big nose, brown skin. She hates herself, right? No arguments about the things that she said. Now everybody wants to support her because they got some silly arguments about Kamala Harris. Let me show. There it is. There it is right there. See, she's the one doing something against the black community. She is quoted as saying that the Black Lives Matter movement is a terroristic organization. She said George Floyd deserved what he got. Trayvon Martin was not innocent. She's doing something deliberately against the black community. And you guys, people are on YouTube now taking her arguments, pushing misinformation based on what this clown done said. You can't come up to me talking about some Candace Owens doing a good job. She been debunked today by yours truly. Right there. What is she doing for the black community? What in the hell is the black community anyway? Break that down. Does it constitute blacks living in the suburbs? Blacks that are successful? Because every time I turn around, I keep seeing people jumping on blacks who are successful, who don't. You ain't got to play basketball to be successful or be an artist to be successful. What black community? Godmind is in the building. Godmind says, let's see what Godmind says. This is what Godmind says. And he know he can hit the link and come right on in. All right. Now this is what there's Candace Owens, y'all. Godmon says, do people even know about her parents, who they met, the circles they were in and represented? People would be surprised about their activism. They weren't Facebook activists like y'all. Thank you, Godmon. As of today, right now, it's a New York and a California. I don't know what you mean by that, D. At this point, it's kind of like you're kind of like all over the place. And if you were talking to me, you'd probably be flailing all over the place right now. But thank you. You know what I'm saying? I still haven't gotten the answer of what is the black community and what did Kamala Harris do against the black community. I never got that answer. You guys say that Kamala Harris' father isn't black because he has a white father. Candace Owens literally sat there and said the woman in the picture with Kamala Harris, this woman right here, was in fact the help. Insinuating that Kamala Harris's family owns servants. Y'all see the problem with that? Here's the picture right here. Candace Owens said that this was the help. Insinuating Kamala Harris' family had servants. This is the problem with Candace Owens and her fake, false commentary against blackness. She ain't black enough. That's her problem. Kamala Harris has always stood on the side of blackness in the black community. Were there some black men that were probably jailed unconstitutionally underneath her watch? Probably. Because the justice is blind, though. But what about the things she was doing for inmates that were getting out of jail, or inmates that exhibited good behavior while she was in there? Why you guys don't bring that up? Because your agenda, when you speak against her, and I'm not telling you who to vote on, period, but when you speak against her, you're supporting the Republican Conservative Party. And trust me, you niggas ain't conservatives and you ain't Republicans. A lot of you niggas go to work every day. You get your ass up and you take your ass to work every single damn day. You ain't running around. You ain't running all around having people punch the clock for you. You depending on that economy to stay afloat and stay strong. You don't own no resources. You anti-progressive motherfuckers. I get tired of that shit. You're not a conservative. You're not Republican. Stop trying to go against because you think it's easy. It takes a lot of responsibility to be correct. It's easy to be stupid. That's why people with channels such as Top Cats and Unconscious One and everybody else, they can get thousands of viewers on one live stream because they're telling lies. Everybody want to hear the lie. Lies make you feel good. Eric Madison says, Chris, what is opportunity economic, and is it good for black people? I don't understand that question. Can you clear that question up? Eric Madison says. He says, what is opportunity economic, and is it good for black people? I'm not understanding that. D says, it's a Michigan and Ohio. Okay, D, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Thank you, D. You kind of all over the place. I'm not understanding you, bro. Really not. Okay. Let me see. You said there's no such thing as Indian, but there's a such thing. It's Indian, but we just use the word to describe someone. Did you know that people in Hindustan share a lot of ancestry with Ethiopia? Did you know that? Just thought I'd let you know. All right, family. So that's what Candace Owens has said about Kamala Harris. It's infuriating. So we see today that Kamala Harris' father is in fact black. And if I saw him walking down the street back home, I would probably say, "What up, nigga?" Just being honest with y'all. Let's see what it says. Eric Madison says. Eric Madison says that's her plan. She mentioned at the historical black college interview. Oh, black economics. Is it good? Anytime you're talking about economics and us receiving and getting more resources, yes, that's a good thing. I'm all for that. Yes. Yes. But something came up when she said that she's not going to do anything for black people. Yes, she did say that, but that was in reference to she doesn't see black or white. She's saying I'm doing something for Americans. Once again, people didn't know how to frame that properly. That's why I keep saying your frame of reference is off. When I listen, a lot of people's frame and referencing is off when I hear them quote people. And it's really sad. It really is. It's like looking at the Michigan quarterback. It's real sad. He can't play. None of them. You got three. Never mind. Okay, so he says, let's see what he says here. Eric, once again, D is talking, and D says, "Are we truly united to even begin to use the word black community or United States?" Bro, stop. Stop. Now you're reaching. Yes, there's unity in the United States amongst black people. What's wrong with you? Unity only means to unify. If you're looking for everybody to unify at once, that's not necessarily going to happen, because you got a president or a Republican president that is deliberately dividing the country. You got Negroes and motherfuckers on YouTube deliberately dividing people on these platforms. Because the framing of the arguments are off. If I ask you, why are you going against Kamala Harris, and you're talking about something in the past that she's done, well, that's garbage. Let's look at some of the things that Donald Trump has done in the past. Let's look at some of the things that President Bush, ex-President Bush, has done in the past. We can all go into our past and pull out skeletons out of the closet. Makes sense now, don't it? Kalunga Kaliango, he says, Candace got her popularity promoting black on black violence and defending every cop that killed an unmelanated person. It's crazy how we forgot. No, I didn't forget. I know who Candace Owens is. I know exactly who she is. See, all you got to do is pull this baby shower picture right here. And y'all know the saying, a picture can tell you 1,000 words. Right? A picture says 1,000 words. All you got to do is look at this picture right here. That's all you got to do is look at. Don't nobody in their right motherfucking mind come at me talking about some shit Candace Owens said. Excuse my language. It's getting a little late. What are we doing here? This is a baby shower picture. Whose baby? I don't know. I don't care. If I look like Candace Owens, I ain't got nothing in common with everybody else in there. I ain't got nothing in common. You want to know why? Because I'll be able to look at all of them and say, guess what? This skin tone right here blocks me when it comes to upward mobility. Your skin tone accepts you. It does not block you. We ain't got nothing in common. She want to have something in common with them, but there's nothing in common. I'm sorry. It's just not. Fuck out of here. More one said there's footage of Kamala's father speaking on economic policy in Jamaica. He's undeniably black. Is Kamala black or not? Yes, she is. She identifies as black. She's identified as black. She participates. Participates in blackness. Her experience has always been black. The fact that y'all are hating, that people are on YouTube hating on her, that's blackness in itself. Kalunga said that picture just reeks of unseasoned food. Oh man, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one. I like that one. Unseasoned. That's what I'm gonna call it from now on, Kalunga. Yo, YouTube channels promote unseasoned food scholarship. There you go, right there. There we go, right there. Unseasoned food scholarship. Look how happy she is. Turn your camera off. Smoking. All right. What's going on,
Yo,
man?
nah, I'm trolling through this bitch, you know. Go ahead and light their ass up, man. I just gotta get a good laugh in before I smoke this blunt, you know.
All right, bro. All right,
All right,
man.
man.
All right, P. that's blackness right there. Y'all see what I'm saying? That's blackness. You know what I'm saying? What are we doing? King Vendetta says she's not like us. Why? Oh, you talking about Candace Owens? No, she's not like us at all. No, sir. No. Godmine, how are all these black people questioning another black person as if they are a bunch of breads? As if they are a bunch of breads. Y'all make black people hating on ourselves blackness. Is Trump German or Swedish? Nobody cares. Shaking my head. I agree. I agree. Okay, so look at what he said right here. Eric Madison, and this is why I always say I can always see through people when they ask certain questions. Eric Madison says, Chris, she didn't get picked for 2020 for president, so what makes her qualify in 2024? Well, first of all, she was not running on the Democratic ticket. She did not run for president, for as far as I know, on the Democratic ticket. She was not running on it at all. And what makes her qualify in 2024? She was the vice president. That's what qualifies her. She's been in the Pentagon. She's been in the White House for the last 4 years. That's what qualifies her. What unqualifies her? Don't beg the question. That's begging the question. D said, what you did made me lose faith. King's Vendetta, that was a coup. She was not voting on to be able to be the runner up. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about there, bro, but okay. Okay. So family, I've been live for an hour and 22 minutes here. That link was in the chat. I think I proved my point about who her father is and the fact that Candace Owens was promoting misinformation purposely just to push her agenda. All right. She is a Republican. She's pushing an agenda. Family, I am getting ready to sign out. This has been easy work. Ask yourself, why are you promoting misinformation as it pertains to a very important presidential election? ATL Boy 0217 says, Kamala not black enough, so let's vote for Trump. We are our own worst enemy. Thank you, ATL Boy. I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. It's simple. Guys, I got to start going live more and more. I got to get the audience built back up over here now. You know what I'm saying? I got to get the audience built back up over here, man. Family, I'm going to get ready to sign up out of here, guys. Hit that like button. Share the video. Let everybody know that we are back bigger and better. Like I said, I just want to go live real quick, show you all this is so easy to debunk a lot of this. Primary sources always debunk commentary any day of the week. Pseudos will always die at their own source, man. Let me see. Godmind says, are white people crying about Trump lying about saying his family is Swedish when they're German? Their family name is actually Drumpf. They didn't make those arguments. We only argue this. That's correct. I've never understood that. She says, is she a descendant of enslaved Africans? Yes, she is. She comes from that stock. Yes. Yes, if you saw Kamala Harris in the early 90s, you would probably sit up there and try and holler at her. Let's be honest. Thank you, King's Vendetta. That's the way to do things. I got to go back and watch the video, fam, right on through. There you go. There you go. Here, you know what? I'll just replay the video for you guys real quick. I'll just run it back. Not hard. I'll just run it back.
And although it could definitely use an update, I wanted to wait until after the election results to perhaps redo it. However, recently there's been a string of videos put out by Candace Owens that have been getting millions of views. In them, she insinuates a bunch of things about Kamala Harris's family tree that, quite frankly, are not true. But people are believing Owens and starting to repeat her claims as if they are fact. So, since Useful Charts is one of the main channels here on YouTube that talks about family trees, I felt that it was sort of my responsibility to weigh in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go through Kamala Harris's full tree right now. I'll still do that later this year if she wins. But for now, I want to focus on her father's side of the tree and answer the question, is Kamala Harris black? The renewed interest in Harris's tree started with a statement made by Janet Jackson during a recent interview.
Janet Jackson.
Asked about Kamala Harris, Jackson said, and I quote, "She's not black. That's what I heard. Her father's white. I was told that they discovered her father was white." Now, first off, it's obvious that Janet Jackson has never seen a photo of Donald Harris, Kamala Harris's father, because there's no way that anyone would call this man straight up white. Here's some more photos of him at various points in his life. I mean, you could perhaps claim that he looks mixed race or maybe part white, But I don't think anyone in their right mind would say that the person you're looking at on screen right now is a white man. So, rightly so, the media jumped all over Jackson's comments.
Of course.
But for some reason, Candace Owens decided to defend Jackson by doing a deep dive into Donald Harris's genealogy. So let's take a look. First off, like I say, it's quite obvious that Kamala's father is a black man. Maybe not 100% black, but definitely black enough that that's how he's going to be perceived as he goes through life. Remember, race is just a social construct. What's actually more important is racialization, meaning how society perceives you and treats you based on how you look. So, for example, Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, and Bob Marley all had white fathers, but all three of them were considered black, never white. Okay, let me introduce you to Donald Harris's parents. According to Donald himself, his father was Oscar Joseph Harris, and his mother was Beryl Christie Finnegan. However, in his article, Reflections of a Jamaican Father, Donald states that the two most influential women in his life were his two grandmothers, Christiana Brown and Iris Finnegan. Now, it's unclear whether or not he was actually raised by these two grandmothers, but that certainly seems like a possibility because, as Candace Owen points out, there is no record of a marriage between Oscar and Beryl. However,
And as you can see, the two most important women in his life are, in fact, black, once again.
There is a record of a marriage between Oscar and a white woman named Vioris Cambridge when Donald was 14, as well as a marriage between Beryl and a man named Lawford Newland when Donald was 6. So either Oscar and Beryl divorced very early on in Donald's life, or they were simply never married at all. Now, the first mistake that Candace Owens makes is that she claims that Beryl died in 1960, based on this death registration here. If true, she says, that would mean that Kamala Harris is lying.
This is the source that Candace Owens deliberately misused. Watch.
About this photo, which shows her with her grandmother Beryl in 1990. But here's the thing. Harris's grandmother didn't die in 1960. She died in 1995. This is the correct death registration. We know that this one is the correct one for several reasons. First and foremost is the fact that the Beryl on this registration is named Beryl Finnegan, which was the grandmother's last name, whereas the Beryl on this one is named Beryl Christie. Now, the reason why Candace got confused is because Harris's grandmother Beryl had Christie as a middle name, but the form asks for the full name. I think it's very unlikely that they would put the first and middle name rather than the first and last name. Also, this Beryl died in 1960 at the age of 39, meaning that she was born in 1921, whereas this Beryl died in 1995 at the age of 81, meaning that she was born in 1914. That's a pretty big difference that can be settled very easily by looking at Grandma Beryl's birth certificate. Even Candace Owen admits that this is the correct birth certificate for Grandma Beryl. At first glance, it seems to indicate that the birth was in 1917, but that 7 could also be a 4, which would make it 1914, fitting perfectly with what we'd expect based on the correct death certificate. But there's more. Candace makes a big deal over this name here, Douglas Finnegan, the person who reported the death. She says, we don't know of any Douglas Finnegan in the family. Well, that may be, but her last name was in fact Finnegan. So it's not hard to imagine that there was some nephew or cousin out there named Douglas Finnegan who was in charge of reporting the death. In contrast, this one lists Muriel Murray. We don't know of any family members with the last name Murray. So that one makes even less sense. Finally, there's the fact that this Beryl died in St. Anne Parish, which is where Grandma Beryl was known to have lived her entire life, whereas this one has her being born in St. Anne but dying in Kingston. Now, the second mistake that Candace Owen makes is that she claims, or at least strongly insinuates, that Donald Harris's real mother is actually Vioris Cambridge, and that the woman in this photo is just the help that Kamala was passing off as her grandmother in order to seem more Black. This is where things start to get really ridiculous,
Exactly.
because Vioris was born in 1927 and Donald in 1938. So are we to believe that Vioris had Donald when she was only 11? Oh, wait, I get it. She wants to see Donald Harris's birth certificate because obviously he's lying. Gee, that sounds familiar. What I think is really going on is that Candace Owens is just throwing out a bunch of crazy stuff because she knows that people who want a reason to hate Kamala Harris will believe it. But that's just plain irresponsible, to put it lightly. Look, I take family trees seriously, so let me show you what I've learned and what I think the best explanation is for all the facts. Let's start with Joseph Alexander Harris, Oscar Harris's father. He's the most recent fully white person on Kamala Harris's family tree. So out of her 8 great-grandparents in total, only one of them was white. That's actually about average for Black people from the Americas. Then there's Oscar Harris's mother, Christiana Brown. She's the one that Donald Harris said was a descendant of Hamilton Brown, the Irish slave owner. But she's obviously mixed race, so what this means is that a white slaver probably impregnated an enslaved Black woman at some point. Or at best, it means that a descendant of a white slaver married a descendant of an enslaved Black woman. Either way, Christiana Brown had ancestors on both sides of the equation, and therefore it's extremely misleading to call her offspring the descendants of a slave-owning family without telling the full story. According to Donald Harris,
Exactly.
Christiana Brown ran a dry goods store in a small town, so it's not like she was super wealthy or anything. I'm also not sure whether or not Christiana Brown was ever married to Joseph Harris. I'm still looking into it, but it appears that Joseph Harris had a white wife named Caroline Beckford, which means that Oscar was either the result of an affair or perhaps even something worse. What we do know is that Oscar's birth certificate lists him simply as Oscar Brown, with no mention of his father. So it definitely sounds like Christiana Brown was a single mother. Interestingly, Oscar didn't change his name to Oscar Joseph Harris.
Hey, North Carolina Farm and Flea Market Promotions. I could put the link in the chat and we can have a conversation. I promise you it's not gonna go good for you, especially with these talking points I'm seeing. Here, I'll do it because see, I don't run from folk. I love a good debate. I don't know why the hell you over here talking about Joe Biden. There you go. The link is in the chat. I already know who you is anyway.
Until a few years prior to marrying Vioris, which seems to indicate that he was perhaps trying to distance himself from his Black roots. If Joseph Harris was fully white and Christiana Brown was half Black, half white, that would mean that Oscar Harris was 75% white. So
okay, so let me kind of like sum this up so people can understand it. What Candace Owens tried to sit up there and say that Oscar J. Harris and Vioris Cambridge was in fact Donald Harris' mother and father. But if you look at Vioris Cambridge age, she was born in 1927. When you look at Donald Harris,
he may have been able
you look
to
at Donald
pass.
Harris, he was born in quote end quote. Let me do something. He was born in 1938. Which would mean she had him when she was 11 years old. And that's where Candace Owens dropped the ball at.
It does seem that Oscar and Vioris did have children together, children that would be the half-siblings of Donald Harris. For example, Candace Owens found this son, who is listed on Oscar Harris's death certificate as the one who reported the death. This means that if Oscar and Viola did have a bunch of white passing children, then Donald Harris might have been the Black half-brother that no one really talked about. Now, I'm not saying this for certain. Donald has decided to keep these details private, and I respect that. I'm just saying that there's more than one way to do the guesswork. Now, while Oscar Harris seems to have been only around 25% Black, it would appear that Beryl Finnegan was around 75% Black. This is because her father, Patrick Finnegan Jr., was mixed race, and her mother, Iris Finnegan, maiden name Allen, was fully black. There's a record from around 1900 of a priest from St. Anne's Parish saying that there was a mixed race couple in the area and that the husband's name was Patrick Finnegan Sr., originally from Ireland. He was almost certainly referring to this couple here, the parents of Patrick Finnegan Jr. So what does all this mean? Well, it means that if Oscar Harris was 1/4 black and Beryl Finnegan was 3/4 black, that would make Donald Harris, DNA-wise, 4/8 black. Or to put it more simply, half white, half black. So that puts him in the same category as Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, and Bob Marley, as well as Drake, Lenny Kravitz, etc. So in other words, Donald Harris is black. And considering that he married an Indian woman, as in from India, that means that Kamala Harris is part black and part Indian, which is what she's always said. Sure, technically, we could say that approximately 25% of her ancestry is European, 25% is sub-Saharan African, and 50% is South Asian. But when it comes down to it, that's not what matters. Like I said earlier, race doesn't really exist, but racialization definitely does. And the fact of the matter is that Kamala Harris has been racialized as either black or brown or both her entire life, never white. So there's your answer. Yes, Kamala Harris is black, and she's also Indian. You can be both. I'll continue to look into her tree, and if she wins in November, expect a video on her full family tree sometime before the end of the year. Thanks for watching.
Go get him, Kamala. Go get him, Kamala. I'm voting Kamala Harris. I don't know about y'all, but I vote Democratic because they pro-union and they're pro-labor force. So anyway, neither here nor there, family. The link is in the chat. If not, guys, I'm going to get ready to get up out of here. Jackie Johnson says, nah, man, I ain't copping for, fuck you. You don't know what the hell you talking about. I already see that, bro. Nice try. Nice try. Nice try. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Let me see. He said, if you don't care about Trump's family history, stop pretending it really matters. Let's see what Godmind has to say. He said, stop pretending it really matters. If you don't have any receipts for Trump, you're just a disingenuous con artist about the importance of race. Exactly. Look at Jackie Johnson. I'd rather denounce my black card than rock with Kamala. Sure. Sure. Sure you would. You probably already have. Shit. So anyway, family, 57 people in the chat. Hey guys, I want to say shout out to you all for tuning on in. We just rocking out, man. I didn't really have nothing planned for today. Just building on Kamala Harris, her blackness, what is blackness as it pertains to black people in America, how we view blackness, how we promote blackness, what is blackness. And as y'all can see, ain't nobody in the chat that are against Kamala Harris even answering the question, what is blackness? King's Vendetta says, I redact my statements whenever I've said she's not like us. I've never seen Candace Owens' video because I was not interested, but I like this one. No doubt. Welcome to the family. This is where we gonna get right to it at. We're gonna cut it right in half. All right, see that this is called honesty right here. That's called honesty. When propaganda is being used to tear somebody down and you believe that propaganda, and then when further information comes out that the propaganda is wrong, you can say, hey, you know what, I was wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Let me see. He talking about the one drop rule. Bro, you silly as hell. I don't even think you understand the question that I'm asking about what is blackness. I asked one gentleman, what the hell is the black community? When he said she was doing things against the black community. I hardly doubt that Kamala Harris woke up one day and signed a bunch of papers and bills and said, I'm doing this against the black community. What is the black community? Because if his niggas standing on the corner doing nothing, I disagree. Look at Jackie Johnson. He upset now. He talking about Indians. Oh Lord, here we go. We talking about Indians now. Oh Lord, here we go. Oh Lord, here we go. Here we go. All right, y'all. Here we go. Here come the Indians. The link is in the chat. Now he says he has a master's degree. What do you having a master's degree have to do with anything, bro? This is crazy. This is crazy. That's crazy, man. Anyway, he done went from, let me see, Dante Bowden. I want to see some Abo smoke. I want to see some too, but Abos don't come over here. They get stripped down too easy. I beat them up. Y'all know that. They get beat up off of here. He says, I'm disappointed in this black community. I'm disappointed in you guys. I'm ashamed to actually say that I was ever subscribed to this channel. Here, let me help you out. Hold on. Let's help him out, y'all. Let's help him out. Watch this. Poof. Poof. And he gone. Poof. And he gone. Just like that. He gone. Poof. Poof. Because he an abo. That's all he was. Poof. Where did you think I was going to ever root for that abos at, man? Poof. Just like Yahweh. Poof. And you gone. You out of here, yo. Get him out of here. When they see the facts come out, them facts start breaking backs, don't they? Let me get the link back in the chat. Let me get the link back in the chat. Come on up in here and North Carolina Farm and Flea Market Promotions. Show us where everybody wrong at and where you right at. Come on. Come on. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. I'm gonna go right to work on you. There's that link. Come right on in. I bet you he can't even read more ones. Mr. X, the agnostic, he says, respectfully, Indian servants were the majority working the sugar plantations after slavery, not blacks. Grandma looks Indian to me. I dated one back in the day. Everyone thought she was black. LOL. This is the bullshit I be talking about. They got DNA. They got her birth record. Niggas is running around talking about Indians or people from Hindustan. Man, get the fuck out of here. You niggas making this shit up. This is once again, this is the definition of a slippery slope. He's saying because Indians worked the sugar plantation, that means that her grandmother was in fact Indian. That's what he's saying. Slippery slope. The man went right through her birth record and showed everything. Then you wait to go off to come on here and start throwing your bullshit out there. You niggas is crazy, man. Slippery slope. Mr. X, the slippery slope. Gotcha. You don't know. Donald says his family is from sugar plantations. So because his family is from sugar plantations, that means he's Indian. So you're saying Africans weren't working on those farms? You're saying Africans weren't brought to Jamaica? Thank you. They were British colonies at one point. You had Indians mixing, you had people from Hindustan mixing with Africans, and Africans mixing with people from Hindustan. Seem like you're the only one stuck in La La Land, Chris. No wonder Candace dropping 500K per video. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Eating greens out of tubs, huh? Okay, so like I said, we can ban North Carolina flea market promotions because, like I said, he don't have nothing smart to say. Candace Owen has some interesting videos on her channel playlist called the Kamala Chronicles. Yeah, Javier, we just went over them and we just debunked them. All of it was wrong. Y'all are coming in a little late. You're gonna have to go back and look at them. Look at this. I'm not gonna play the video again. If you want to watch it, go back, support the channel, and watch the video. And it goes and show me Javier. I think you're an Israelite. I don't know. I think you're an Israelite. I don't know. Yeah, he calls himself Flea Market Productions. Exactly. What would you think the response would be if she identified as white and ran as a white woman or Indian? I said that earlier. Everybody would be calling her a coon. Javier, you can't come on this channel promoting Candace Owens at all. You just can't. Because in the same breath, everybody will sit up there and say Kamala Harris is married to a white guy. They all say that. Oh, she's married to a white man. But then Candace Owens is married to a white man. And then you'll come on here and try and promote her information. It's just weird. The way you guys do things on YouTube, not you all in the audience, but the way people rationalize information, the way you guys the way I see things done, it's just no framing of reference. It's never done correctly. You understand what I'm saying? All right. Family, I'm getting ready to get up out of here. Them pseudos won't come up in here. Them is just trolls in the chat. Those just trolls in the chat, family. Trolls in the chat. Give me 1 second. Give me a second here. A lot of these arguments lack frame. Okay, Javier, you're not an Israelite. Congratulations. You got common sense. Like, you got a wrench, so you know something. I don't give idiots a wrench. Abos don't want to get smoked tonight. Family, we signing up out of here, man. Peace.